again is just that one part. And it's out of focus.
Jerry shouldn't be taking it.
It'll flick off if I don't. Okay, now bring it closer together. Bring it closer. I figured something out. Okay, closer. Now pull it up. See if you can go up, higher. Even though it's not in the deal, see if we can pull it up. You see? No.
Honey, I got too much to do tomorrow.
Sorry, baby.
We'll get her a school meal.
Okay, it has
I don't think next time will work. She'll be loaded.
Daddy's on camera. We'll get her up every day.
Okay, something. Maybe it was farther away again. Try same thing what you're doing, but farther away.
My kids and your kids come over.
Okay, look. Oh, that was good. Get over.
Is that on pause?
No, but something just happened.
henwoods in the boat. So that may be Sterling between them, beside the man in the white shirt. Marvin, Margaret and Vivian, Othello, Colette, Sterling, and Mary Helen. Looks like Uncle Rule, Mr. Barnett, Othello's mother, our Grandma Miller, and then next will be Rosie, the twins, and Othello. So there's the Millers, except for Elna and Eileen at the time, I guess. The rest of us weren't born. June 64. And of course, Rose is in the black dress and Granny's in the blue dress on the end. Six. I'm still working on some that we've already split up, and these are the ones that haven't been split up. Did the easy ones quickly when there was 4 or 5 just alike. And then these are the hard ones. Let's see if it looks better darkened. Not really. Is that Rosie up in the tree? The twins and me? Or is that Margaret? Let me see how old this slide is. It's because it's 1956. I probably already said that. Could that be Lorraine? You might not can see these little slides, but once we get it on the big screen, they ought to be able to see and tell us who all these people are. We know these people, though. It's 56, according to the next slide where they're wearing the same clothes. Like Rosie with her blonde hair, and Margaret's the little one. I wasn't born yet. Guess that must be first day of school. 6. It's like Dad squatting down behind the twins. I think the museum's got it fixed up again. And one of the girls, one of the twins. There's Christmas 56. With Mom in the back, and the twins and Margaret. 6. I think it's upside down. I guess that's up at church. Zoe and Othello. Looks like Granny's house. And boy, that looks exactly like me sitting by Dad. Of course, I wasn't born yet, so I don't know who, if it's Mom or Rosie. There's Granny and Margaret, and one of the twins out in the yard. Well, I guess that could be the other twin. I don't know who it is for sure. But that's how I see it most. I've seen a lot of pictures like that. So I guess they went up there for Christmas. X. I wonder if that's the nativity scene at church that's outside. We have a pretty one outside every year. I think that might be it. So this must be midnight mass. Wish I could see this better. I'm wondering if Look at all those lights. You know, we had a big, beautiful, lit-up Christmas tree up by the altar on Grandma's last Christmas. And we thought that's the first time there'd been a real tree in the church, but I don't know. I don't know if those are, what's all lit up there? It's just so dark on this. I think that's the one they still use. We're a traditional bunch. There's Alonzo with Helen and Nadine. Margaret, and doesn't say who that is. Helen, I guess. Looks like my jacket that I had for so long. Me and Auntie had one alike. 59. A little more in order. Bet that's upside down too. 56. December. Stephen, Regina, Sherry, Margaret, Twyla behind her. Billy, Mike, Lita. Nope, that first one was Stanley, because there's Stephen, Colette, and Stephanie. That's who it was in 65. Now who does it look like? Megan, Anche, Camellia, Little Billy, Alicia. They say I look like Lori. Heather, I don't know. But anyway, it's not them. It's Stanley, Regina, Sherry. I guess Eddie wasn't born yet. Well, I think he was born. He just must be in the baby bed somewhere. $1965. I hope I don't just keep on talking to myself when I'm done with this for the rest of my life. Need to get Amber back over here to have somebody to talk to. 60. $1965, a fellow in the boat. The boat. All this one says, no date. '67, developed in March, when the post office was across the street from us. 1964. $60. $54. K5EQF. 64. $64. X. Looks like Father Catalina and Margaret in green. Stanley. Who's the other one? Is that Billy Mike? L.B. Carr's holding him, whoever it is. Looks like somebody's holding Twyla over here. Is that Bill's head? He's tall, whoever it is. And I guess that's Rose holding Stanley. Nothing wrote on it. There's Evelyn, I think, in the black and white dress. Yeah. Helby holding Billy Mike. Rose holding Stanley. Stephen on bottom. There's Margaret. Now, which one's getting baptized? Is that Twyla? We'll have to look. We could look up on church records and see if all three of them were baptized the same day. Same day. Guess that was in 85, but this is 65. Yeah, I guess that's Stanley showed up on bottom. So that must be Bill and Nadine over here. And that's Evelyn's husband, L.B. Carr. First husband. Here they are again. Blonde's face isn't showing up. And that's all she's wrote. Guess she never dreamed we wouldn't be able to tell who the rest of them were. Where'd Lori go? And I think January of 66. Shergill's brother. Must be Mom's birthday. It's like Mary Helen and Margaret. And Mary Helen's got her hand on me. Then Mom. Elna Miller. Then Nadine. Looks like Stephen and Stanley's head. And somebody else's head over there. Maybe Stephanie's.
Help!
There's that picture again. What's the matter, Lauren? Dropping your books? Sister. That's Rose in the black dress. Nadine with her dark hair. Looks like, I guess that's Regina with the dark hair. Her hair sure is long. Is that Twyla? And the other two, I don't know. There's a little boy behind Nadine and a tall person behind Nadine. 1963. Some of these must be friends. Look, there's Daddy in the back. Okay, who's that guy? Is that Bill? It's a flowery shirt. I'm gonna get worried if somebody answers me. First, 1958. Said she was 18, I think it said on the 27th. Let me check that again. That's right, I guess. Anyway, I guess they didn't get to take her picture on her birthday, so they're taking it now. What a lovely Donna Reed look. There's Margaret, and she's holding me, Colette. Just fresh off the farm. Yes, Daniel, I'm taping. So Stephanie, Colette, Margaret, Mary Helen. You can see into our old kitchen. In 1958. Rosemary, Othello, and I guess that's Mary Helen, Margaret, and Stephanie. And it's still Mary Helen's Nadine's birthday. 1958. So I guess that's Mary Helen. Candles out. Miami, Texas. Must be right there by the newspaper office. Miami chief office was. 8. I should be picking up trash. lilac bush than there are of me and Margaret. Here's an old-timey one again. I think the others were 48. That's Franken Pearl Alta. And Othello. I think that's Dad's cousin. Really should look this up before I keep repeating it. Elna Miller on the end. Mom's sister Helen and their cousin Fern with a question mark. She thinks that's Fern. Some of our good friends, Molly and Elodia and Evelyn. It looks like. Of course, I was just born, but I think that's them. Nadine's wedding shower. I was baptized after Nadine's wedding shower. I'm not sure who these are. Okay, and the white shirt I should know.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to tell me who it is. Elodia and Molly Estrada and Evelyn and Mrs. Merrill. Mrs. Merrill's buried in Miami, and that's where my Helen and Mom almost, well, they did get locked in the cemetery, but luckily the police saw them and let them out. She used to babysit the twins, I think. She lived behind us. A girl, but I see a little bit of Evelyn over there. Is at the church hall. Lusky's holding somebody's baby. And that's Judy Smith in the white shirt and the big smile, and then that's says that's Rosemary on the end. I don't know whose back that is. Ann Pavlovsky is Ann Best now. This was Nadine Shower, April 58. Anita down in front with the little flower. Colette, Angela Henning, Carol Ann, and Margaret, I think. Carol Ann's Evelyn's daughter. Okay, any of y'all don't know that. If you live around here, I'm sure you do. It's Halloween. I don't know which is, well, I think that's Carol Ann in the white sweatshirt, maybe. So maybe Margaret's the witch. I don't know what the other one is supposed to be. Oh, Elna Miller. I think that's when they lived in the back of the shop. She was sure pretty. April 56. Dad's dancing with somebody. September 56. There's Othello and Lee Strader from across the street. They called him Uncle Lee, but he's not kin to us. 7. Othello and Mr. Moss are at the Brainerd Ranch. Photo shop. It says only shot with new lens, and then they sold it to Mr. Mosser. It says Mr. Mosser, last trip 1957. I don't know if that was the last trip or that's just what she wrote on at the time. 57. So Othello, first Christmas after operation. I wasn't born yet. Did Margaret get a doll? Or is that Stephanie's stuff? Be at the hospital when Dad was in the hospital. I guess. He whose husband had the operation like Othello had. He's bringing in a tray of food. 7. Othello and Eileen, I guess. Seven. I think that's the one Mom had copied for us and that was in the paper when she died. And I think she told me she was pregnant with me at the time.
Okay, you're done.
You must be wanting somebody's phone number. Here's some more phone numbers on this yellow page. Has everybody in our family.
Okay.
They just got done with that.
817. 840.
Star in 1959. .6 must be the camera setting. She wrote on here that this one was good and it's the extra bright star. 59.
The holiday.
9. Margaret, Mary Helen, Colette, and Stephanie.
Hey, Mama, do you got a book about Veterinarians Day?
Veterinarians Day or Veterans Day?
Veterans Day, yeah.
Probably up at night. The news
I'll
sign
go
lit
to
up.
Walgreens and get some books. Ooh,
And
cold
the
up
glass
there.
case. She's got all kinds of settings wrote on there and too much light. On the right. Eight's the back of the rig, the ham radio rig, and Elna seated. Light as it goes. Byron Gates and Elna Miller. June 1964. Colette Miller, Regina Scarborough, Lita Scarborough, Stephen Bentley, Stephanie Bentley. And our Easter clothes. Collette's and a bunch of kids at Easter. Same Easter because we're wearing the same clothes. I'm in the pink jacket. Stephanie's in the red dress. The waves were getting us. Yep, Regina was there. There's Othello, Stephanie, and then I'm behind Regina, Colette. Regina's here in the front in the pink with the towel. I bet everybody remembers this one. 56. Regina back there. Stanley sitting down, and Stephen with the fishing poles. 62, Grandma's front room. Rosemary and the kids. That's Margaret up here in the front. Oh my goodness, there's a kid in the chair, a kid on the sofa with Rosie, and 2 or 3 more kids besides Margaret on the floor. Plumb tuckered out. This doesn't have a date, but there's Stephanie, Regina, Colette, I guess Twyla, Lita, and Mary Helen. Looks like Othello and Margaret. What are they sitting on? With Sterling. So that must be Mary Helen, Regina, Othello, and Sterling. Boy with camp stove. Busy with camp stove. Let's see, I've been at this about 13 hours today. So I wonder I can see it all. Or Indian Reservation at Tejas, New Mexico. So we're in our one vacation Margaret talks about where we got that little bank. And it looks like Billy Mike was with us because he's in some of the slides. Mike and Margaret. I think that's a guy in Canyon that we were selling a boat to, or maybe the camper. I think we sold a boat. Maybe we bought the camper from him. And the ice cream man came, and me and Stephanie got ice cream, but his kids were diabetic and they couldn't have any. So we felt bad of eating in front of them, but they had special treats in the refrigerator. One. So that must be Nadine, Bill, Mary Helen, and me, Colette, sitting on Daddy's lap. The fellows. Sterling must not have got there yet because Mary Helen still has her pin curls in. Bill Purcell. Looks like Nadine got a sewing machine. Looks like they both got dolls. There's Colette, Margaret, Mary Helen, and Othello. Let's see, 61. I guess they were 21 years old. 5. There's Colette, Lita, Regina, Stephanie, Stanley, Stephen, Billy Mike, Twyla, who's in red, and who's the baby. Guess one of them must be Sherry, probably in red. And I guess the baby's Eddie. Yeah, people used to always ask me if I was a lonely child since all my sisters were so much older and moved out. But no, we weren't too lonely at this time. The Shamrock Day Parade. I knew Stephanie was there. Bill and Nadine and Stephanie. And this float's advertising the top of Texas Rodeo. That's as good as we get. I'm sitting by Dad, and Stephanie's on the floor. Must be his birthday. 65. It's Elby and Evelyn holding the baby over the font and Father Catalina. Birthday in August of 67. And I think that's at our house. You see, there's a chair that looks like the one somebody bought Grandma in later years at a garage sale. Well, we got rid of this chair at a garage sale, so I don't know if it's the same one. I think the design pattern may be a little different. The shape is the same. Anyway, this is Florence Anderson, Elna Miller's mother. Granny that had the great cookies and the cookie dough that me and Margaret like to eat. Boyfriend, Margaret, Granny, Carrie holding Stanley, Rosie holding Stephanie, Colette, Othello holding Bill's hat, I guess, the black hat. And I guess that's Nadine and Bill. And then Billy Mike and Stephen down on the bottom. And I think that's that puzzle Rosie and Carrie made hanging on the wall. Lilac bush. What?
Maybe you can get in there and empty all that Coke cans.
Post, and it says it's on the way to Nebraska. All that on one slide.
What?
Margaret, Othello. Is that Bill and Colette? And somebody's behind Dad. 55. That's Elna Miller. And his white pickup. Meredith, the day after Thanksgiving, but it doesn't have a year on it. There's Othello. Lake Meredith, day after Thanksgiving. Elna Miller, Lake Meredith, day after Thanksgiving. She always wore a dress in those days. Then after she tried on pants, we could hardly ever get her to wear a dress again. But as long as Dad was alive, she always wore dresses. Number 65. Oops. Is he in there or is he out of it? Not sure. It kind of looks like Nadine. Or Mom. That said July 66, Othello carrying a mattress. And the next one is 66 at Lake Finsterwald, so this probably is too. 66, that must be me and Stephanie. Camping at Lake Finsterwald, July 66, Othello in the pitch dark. Looks like he's got binoculars, probably looking at stars. April 66. And I think that's ice. What they used to say, that separated the men from the boys if you'd break the ice to get your boat in. I bet we were the only ones out there that day. 55. March 65 with Elna Miller, Lake Marvin. Well, there's several cars, but I don't see anybody else in the water. Of course, he usually had the water to himself for boating, I think. Sometimes there were other people. Now, some of those are Bill with that boat. Yeah, some of the Amarillo papers that he had saved that we had passed out had pictures of Elna Miller and said that he started sailboating, started the fad of sailboating in this area and on this lake. March 65. Looks like a fellow with Mary Helen's girls. No, I guess Twyla's not that much taller than Lita. That must be me or Stephanie. Now, I think that's Stephanie, Lita or Twyla, and of course that's Regina. Is that by Marble Falls? It doesn't say, but I think it is. It's Othello, Regina, Stephanie, and Lita. So there's Othello in the middle of a bunch of leaves that have fallen off. I guess that's our yard. That happens every once in a while when we have a windstorm. Is that the twins over there, or who? This is a pretty old slide. One of the red ones. Yeah. I should say it was pretty much of a windstorm. I wonder we had any trees left. Your straw's making a terrible noise, Lori. Ooh, is that Aunt Helen? Or Rosemary?
See the left in the front?
Those were those two evergreens that got so huge. There's a little girl. Margaret probably down here. And a couple on the porch. 1951, Main Street, round by the picture show.
Nah.
What happened? These are old red ones. I guess it's 51 too. I'm not sure. It says working on the multitath or something. Let me see if I can read it. Just always called it offset to me. T-I-L-I-T-H. Or that could be a K at the end, but I think it's an H. This says no on it. So I guess it wasn't good. X, I guess that's the one she was going to use instead. Doesn't say anything else. You can see those old cars. It says baby being baptized, and it says who. But I would guess, since Carrie's mother's there, that it's Stephen or Stanley. But I don't know. Stephanie's probably not that much older than them. Anyway, that looks like Stephanie, Carrie, his mother, Colette, Regina, and who? One of the twins on the next aisle, and Othello. The next pew, I should say. Those are the old pews that Grandma got one of, and Rosie got it. That's what they looked like from the Catholic Church before we got new, more comfortable pews. Look like the same bunch we saw before to me, 3 babies. So maybe Stanley is. He's pretty good size there. Maybe it's Stanley getting baptized with them other 2. Lena, Margaret in the green dress. Looks like both the twins and Rosemary are there. And they've got scarves on. Margaret's is blown to the back, it looks like. Them were the days when you wore the chapel caps in church. Everybody's outside. Whoops. Right as we go. Granny by the camper. The darkening that helped. Not really. Granny Anderson. Florence, the one I'm naming it after. Florence Colette by the camper again. Wonder if we just got it. Florence Anderson. I think it says July. And there's some little kids down there by Granddad's leg. Behind them you can see. Elna Miller. I think these were all 65. Twins. Summer 1951. It's an old glass slide. Five. Colette and Margaret. Looks like Stephanie gave me her dress. Granny on the porch. She was in some of them with the camper in 65. I bet it is. The camper was sitting on the porch like that when I was staying with Nadine and Mom and Dad was gone. And we drove by and she said she saw lights in it. And then we went in the house and nobody was supposed to be home. It was dark and I was scared. And she kept hearing things upstairs, like furniture moving. But there's that big door, big heavy door, and we didn't go past it. It was locked to get to the back porch, and then you had to be on the back porch to get to the stairs. But she had some excuse she told me later what was making the noises, but I don't know if that was just to keep me from being scared or what. March 65. The windmill. 65. Whoops. A little X on the sail. I think this may be the one grunt they had blowed up, and I think Sherry just took it home the other day. Florence Anderson, Granny by me, and Margaret by Mom, Elna Miller. Do you think Mom looked like her mother? There's our first communion. Colette, Stephanie, Kathy Lopez, Amelia Gutierrez. Uh-oh, I forgot the last one, but I'm thinking maybe she's kin to the Ortegas for some reason. I just can't remember who that is. She must not live here anymore. This may be when we were coming home from somewhere and we stopped at a carnival. Pretty interesting shot there. But this one says small tornado here. Looks like the same time. Doesn't have any kind of date on this one though. In the camper. The little storage places up on top. Othello. Mom's taking her glasses off. Someone else is taking a picture for a change. And there's Mom's mother, Florence Anderson, down. There's a cake. She always made fudge at Christmas and wrapped it up in a tinfoil box covered with tinfoil. Dad would sneak out most of the fudge before Christmas got here. So she got to send an extra. But he'd always find it, even if we hid the package. Gina, Angel, Colette and Stephanie's first communion. Othello working on the sailboat in the yard. Looks like it's getting dark. Says number 3 above it, the door. Is that motel in Marble Falls, maybe? We got a suitcase. That's our dog Peter. They had him for a long time, and he died when I was a little girl. We had 2 dogs at the same time, Blackie and Peter, when I was little. This one was a big dog by the time I came around anyway. What's that white dot up there in the sky? Is it a UFO? Got the sails up in the yard. Lake Vincent. Are we there yet? fixing to... I guess so, there's a trash barrel. I think like Vincent's where Regina and Greg like to go over by Higgins. I think we had Marcus's party over there. If I'm not getting my lakes confused. I think that's Nadine's house in Marble Falls the first time we went to see them. Colette and Billy Mike. Maybe the same one. I may have just dropped it at the shop. All that stuff's hanging behind those big cabinets. I think some of the fires said Legion Hall and some was the bowling alley. Or was that the same building? Anyway, it's 81 and Grandma took pictures. These are red slides, so they're fairly old. But I see Granny. Is that Margaret she's holding, probably? It looks like Sam. The best of them have a few bad ones, I guess. But there's Othello and Rose. It says buying the pickup. In front of the pickup. Something fence company, Western maybe? Is that plain Chevrolet truck sales and service? This is in Amarillo. Silver. Inside. Anderson and her first great-grandchild, Stephanie. This is 1957. Stephanie Bentley. And Elna's mother, Florence Anderson. With Heather, Stephanie's daughter. So that'll be her great-great-grandchild. I don't know if it's the first one or not, because Heather and, is it Mariah? They're about the same age. I think Mariah may have been born first. Because I think when we took Heather up there, there was, Heather, I think there was another baby in the pictures. Around, here's Granny and Aunt. Here's all those jars behind them. So this would be 68, I guess. Great Granny. So let's see, Heather would be a great-great, I guess. Because it's Rosie's grandmother, Stephanie's great-grandma, and great-great to Heather. Okay. Sam. Aunt's in blue, Sam's in pink. And Granny Anderson. Stephen. Now we found another one yesterday, or whenever Sherry was here, that was definitely, it said Eddie Jean, so we'll have to put that with these and see. Now that does look like Eddie. It says, so that's Billy Mike. I think Rosie's already got her kids, but Mom had some pictures of them too. This thing does pictures and slides. Maybe we can get them all together. This is Eddie, because I checked out all the outfits, and it's not Stephen or Stanley's or Billy Mike's, and it's definitely a little boy's outfit, and besides that, it looks like Eddie. Raya Burton, Kathy's daughter, and this is 1977. I think she's born in November, but we can look it up to be sure. So somewhere should be a picture of Amber and Granny, because Amber was born in 1976. And I think Granny died in 78, so there won't be one of Lori. And I don't guess there's one of Casey, and of course there's not one of Johnny. And there's probably them with Ernie's kids somewhere. That's Mariah. Granny Anderson and Mariah. Mariah in there. I think this is 78. And we've got to find Amber's picture. Maybe it's in the slides Margaret's already took home. This is a picture. I'm going to mix some pictures and slides that I see handy. This is Granny Anderson, Florence Anderson, with Margaret, her grandchild. And Margaret was born in 1949. And it looks like that's when Mom started doing these pictures, though I'm sure there's pictures of her holding the older sisters too somewhere. This is Margaret Miller, Stephanie, Granny Anderson and Stephanie. And this is Granny and her great-grandchild. I guess she's doing them in order because Stephanie was born in 57 before me. But this is a great-grandchild. Stephanie Bentley. And my grandma, Granny Anderson, Granny and Colette. And I'm her grandchild. And I was born in 1958. With another great-grandchild, Regina Scarborough. She was born in 1960. And there's my hand. I'm having trouble with the photos. Get the holder. That's Regina. David Bentley. And Stephen's born in 61, according to this yellow paper Twyla just got finished with. And Billy Mike Purcell. And Billy Mike was the New Year's baby in Pampa in 1962. Anderson and Lita Scarborough. It says Lita's born in 1962. Billy Mack was January, and Lita is March. Twyla Scarborough. Except for Margaret and Colette, who are the grandchildren, the rest of these so far are great-grandchildren. And Twyla's born in the first part of April, 63. Stanley. And Stanley was born at the end of April in 63. Stanley Bentley. I'm holding this up with my hand, so I don't have enough hands to do much adjusting. Face wasn't showing up too good. Granny, great-granny, and Stanley. To me, it's the only granny. Mary Gale. Great-granny Anderson, Elna's mother, and Sherry Gale Purcell. And Sherry Gale Purcell was born in May of 63. So there was Twyla and Stanley in April, and then Sherry. I knew we were up at that hospital a lot. That's Grandma Miller's writing on the bottom of her pictures there. Elna Miller's writing. And this is Grandma and Eddie. Granny and Eddie. Great-granny to Eddie. And it said it's developed in 64, and Eddie was born in 64, August of 64. So there's Granny Anderson and Eddie Jean Purcell, Eddie Jean Purcell. We should do this for Mom and her grandkids. And then Lori can be in it. Now this is a lot of trouble I'm going to back and forth to get these in order when my kid's not even born while she was alive. But Mama always wanted to get these in order. She just about had them. So maybe we can get it done. At least once. Oops. Here's Shelly Ann Sam Mahan. Her name's Shelly Ann Mahan, and my dad nicknamed her Sam, and it's stuck all these years because her initials spell Sam. In case you were wondering. And Sam was born January 7th, 1968. And there's Granny and Sam. Okay, and here's Granny and Serena Carol Onche. What a name. So it's Granny and Onche Scarborough. Granny Anderson. So, okay, yeah, these are all great-grandkids. Then Mariah is a great-grandkid too, okay. But Heather's, there's one of Heather's somewhere, and that would be a great-great-grandkid, I think. There's Onche. But I guess Margaret's already got Amber's in the slide she took home, because I have looked everywhere, can't find one of Amber, but I'm sure there is one. So, we'll put this one of Granny and Onche and Sam, and I'll leave it a while here. And when we find Amber, maybe we can edit it in this spot. And And after this one, we'll have Mariah and Heather. And I don't sure when Casey was born. I don't know if there'll be one with Casey or not. I'm sure there won't be of Lori or Johnny. But have to look up when Casey was born, see if it was before Granny died. I don't think it was. Okay, coming up another one. There's Granny and Mariah. Mariah Burton. So she's a great-grandchild. It's Kathy's daughter. Can you hear Lori playing the flute, practicing? And Mariah, I believe, is November 1977. Okay, and here's Granny, great-great-granny, and Heather Seal, Stephanie's daughter. And this is 78. Heather was born March of 78. March the 9th. That's where her godparents. I gotta keep remembering that. Okay, there's Granny and Heather. Now we just gotta find that one of Amber. I need to call Margaret and have her look. Or maybe it's already over at Sam's house. I think Sam has some of them that Margaret hasn't got yet. I believe this is Estes Park. It seems most of them are in this stack. And some of them say 1976. Some you can't read. Well, it's Anche and Sam by the Engineer. Colorado, August of 1976. Elna, it says Elna. Anche and Sam are riding the train in Estes Park. Those bears down there. Colorado. And ground squirrels. Sam in the green and Anche with Ashley's look. Anche is number 80. And Sam. There you can see Sam. He's blending in with the trees. And there's Sam. I guess that's Anche in the red. Carrie down on bottom. See, these are the kind that's hard because Sam and Anche are in all of them. They'll both want these. Well, I actually don't see them among these thousands of turkeys. Excuse me, girls. This is 1976. But I'm talking about the last ones. For 6 of every pose. This says the edge of Denver. Got to be so expensive. This probably couldn't. Or maybe she just got to be such an expert she didn't take extras to make sure one was good. Can't read the sign, but I think y'all remember where that is. 6. Got a lot of Colorado over the years. Now, is this the trip where it had a big flood and a lot of people were killed right after? You'll have to ask Rose and Margaret about that. And about the fortune teller that predicted it. Or some fortune store. We'll have to ask them. Believe in calling that psychic network or anything. That's pretty. And this is the last one in that batch. However, it don't mean we won't find another batch of the same thing later. And I think that rounds up this box. Well, fast forward a second because I gotta check and see how much tape we got left, and that'll probably leave a glitz in between. It's a little basket of fairly old ones. The twins' birthday, it says Nadine's in the striped dress. So Mary Helen's the other one. Let me see if it has a year. 1959. Birthday, 1956. Shower, 1958. And that's Teresa Lopez in the yellow, holding the Francis or Kathy. It's 1958. Which one would it be? Margaret back there by Nadine. Yeah, that's Teresa. Mary Helen. Nadine's in blue. Rosie with the blonde hair on the left. And the other blondes, I guess, is Nadine and Margaret. I think that's Anita's head in the background. Here's the presents. That's Anita. It was Anita Lopez, now it's Anita Sumner. Margaret's friend and Teresa's daughter. I bet she's Margaret's age. This is a few days after her birthday. And that looks like Bill's hat down there in the right hand corner. Othello and Mr. Mosser, 1957. The ranch where Bill worked in 1957, it says that this is before she married Bill. Mr. Purcell, the twins' 17th birthday. (1957). Sale. So this would be Violet, and the other one would be Shorty. This is 1957 at the twins' birthday party. And Elna Miller. Bill's mother and Nadine's father. Purcell and Nadine Miller at their Nadine and Mary Helen's 17th birthday. Rose, Nadine, and Colette. Christmas 1959. President Eisenhower. It says Eisenhower Special. supposed to be related to Othello. Sixth cousin or something like that. Or fifth, maybe we're the sixth, I don't know. We're seeing double again. Or pregnant with Eddie. I guess that's when we went on that trip. Boy, she must have just barely got back before she had the baby. When we went and to Capulin, Mount Capulin, she walked all the way around it. So I guess that's Bill and Othello. Rose, Nadine, Mary Helen, Holden, Twyla. Is that Lita, I think, on the floor? I think Regina. Yeah, there's Regina under the tree. Colette on the couch and Othello by the tree. Eddie, and there's Sherry and Billy Mike. So that must be 64. And Billy Mike, Holden Eddie, and there's Sherry Gal. And I think that was an Easter picture. Yeah, Easter 65. Billy Mike, Eddie Jean on Nadine's lap, and Sherry Gal. Looks like Stephen in the left corner coming up. And Sherry and Billy Mike still on top of the pickup. And this is, I think, jump back to when Nadine's pregnant just a second. 64. And the other one was Easter 65. Very first picture in the hospital. Eddie Jean Purcell. 65. Billy Mike. 5. At least that's when it was developed. That's probably Sherry's birthday in May, maybe. Anyway, there's Granny. Sherry's not looking. Nadine, Eddie, and Billy Mike. Granny Anderson. Go with Eddie. Birthday. Looks like he got some little bears or something like that. Day, it says. Billy Mike Purcell and Steve Bentley. Birthday. Billy Mike with Sherry on her first birthday. More of Sherry's first birthday. Day 65. Big candles. 2 years old in 65, it says. Okay. 4 generations, I guess. There's Sherry and Eddie and Billy Mike and their mother, Nadine. Way on the other end of the stripe is Nadine's mother, Elna Miller. And in the pink with the glasses is Elna's mother, Florence Anderson. Too bad that right side's too bright. Let's see, on the ground, Colette, Stephen by the door, Regina, and Stephanie on the right. I think. Walking just like Megan. Regina and Stephen. Got baskets again. I guess it must be Easter. That's Margaret with the blonde hair. Rose in the car. Stephen, I guess. And I think that's Dad over there, the way he's sitting on the end. So it's February 66. I guess it's Nadine and Bill's house. And their pickup over here on the left. Eddie Jean, Christmas 1966. Months old. '65, Eddie Jean, 6 months old. Okay, that's that trip we were on, I guess. So there's Othello, that must be Bill. And Billy Mike hanging on Nadine. And she's pregnant there. I think that was 64. 52, it says Billy Mike. Five. Sitting down is Sherry, Billy, and Eddie. Eddie's the littlest. And I'm on the pole, and I don't know, that must be Regina down there, or Lita. 1. Bill and Nadine. Looks like she's pregnant. Probably. Sherry, Eddie, and Colette. I think. I know that's Colette. First birthday. It says he got some kind of blocks. Birthday. Two. Shamrock Rodeo. '67, 65, 6 months old. 1961. There's Othello in the recliner and Bill and Nadine standing beside him. And she's definitely pregnant. Capulin. And that's in 1964. So that's probably Billy Mike and Bill and Nadine and Othello. This is when Nadine was pregnant with Daddy Parker. Bill and Colette. So I guess that's me in the red, but I thought I was a lot older than that. 64. I'd be 6, so I don't know. I wasn't very big that time. I guess that's Bill's horse. House and pickup. I think Sherry's embarrassing me. Looks like Colette, Sherry, and Billy Mike. Billy, Mike, Nadine, and I think that's Eileen over here. '62. I've seen some of those before. Of Billy Mike. 1962. Two. So I suppose that's Billy Mike. It was developed in June or July 62, it says. Billy Mike. 62. Looks like Nadine, Mary Helen, and Colette. 7. There's a linotype. Sherry asked me the other day what a linotype was. That's it. Looks like it's coming in the door or going out. And of course that's Elna Miller. It's kind of hard to explain. It's such a complicated thing compared to a computer. And Hailstorm. Studer House in the background. And so that would be Donnie and Doreen's house now. Donnie Purcell's in 1994. 63, developed in June, and she was born the end of May. This was developed June 63, so she was in there having Sherry the end of May. Patry, P-A-T-R-I, 1962. 1962. The Shamrock Day Parade, 1962. Is the Irish got here first. And then something Williams. Oh, I think Wheeler's colors are black and gold too. Shamrock Colleen. They pick every year. Stephen. Granny and Stephen. Well, 72, but that's Christmas, so that's Christmas 71. I think that's Anche. Anche had some of these developed. I think those are Anche's pajamas. Gosh, she kind of does look like Sam there. It's easier to tell them when they were both together. Horn and Sam with the band hat. And it says December 1971. January 71, it says. But just a second. In January 71. So I guess this is 1969 Christmas. There's Sam in the yellow and Anche in the pink. It says 30 on the slide, so that means the end. I guess that's the end of that bunch. Day Parade, 1962, 76. Obviously, these are still in the box that's hard to divide up. Who's up there? Is that Stephanie? Maybe we better start at the bottom. It's awfully dark. I hope there's some lighter ones. This is 76. nearly 20 years ago. I think that's Dr. Abraham. Eva Pavlovsky sitting in the chair, and Beth's mother. There's Mrs. Cloyd, and who's she talking to? Maybe Mrs. Hudson. These are people from church. This must be church picnic. This may be that one for Father Culligan. For Father Culligan, and I think that's him in the front with the hat, playing horseshoes. Father Culligan. I think that's Margaret with the scarf. On the left, the second from the left. Is that Evelyn? I think that's Evelyn swinging in the blue. I remember Twyla really liked Father Culligan. It seems like he was pretty special to her. Was that Henry in the white shirt 20 years ago? Henry Ramirez? I think that's Billy Mike's godfather, or one of them. Margaret in the scarf, and Stephanie by her. Regina standing up in the red. Doris Hudson in the green. She just died last year. And Father Culligan, I think, is he adjusting his glasses or taking a picture? Boyd standing up. Boy, this was a long time ago. Oh. Okay. Let's see. That's probably Juana or Anna's husband. Which one? I think they were guests. The two on the right. They're real familiar looking. And this is still the church picnic. At the city park, which they're talking about getting rid of. Is that Grandma on the slide? 71. So I guess that's Christmas 69, but I wonder if these are reprints, because they were born in 68. They look more than a year old there. But that's what's printed on it. Maybe it didn't get printed right. Oh, Aunt Che and Sam, in case you didn't know. Sam's on the tricycle. Aunt Che's in the chair. Just fell out of the box. It was stuck. And it says Rosie and the twins and Mr. Mosser and Othello. But it looks like one more head in there between Rosie and Nadine. Be Margaret's head down there by Rosie. A little red shirt. Going to Oklahoma City. Stopped and took a picture of a windmill, and there's a little note on there. The windmills are around Elk City. I thought I was going to see a boat there when it said windmill. Oklahoma City from a moving car. Nice skyline. Birthday picture, 1976. I think that's a stuffed elephant that hardly shows up above with the Christmas tree. Aunt Che with the Mickey Mouse shirt, and Sam's the tall one. Sam's 6 months older. And her 22nd, 79, second I think it said. Twyla Scarborough and Misty Amber Mahan. Twyla's holding Amber. And she put this was good picture. It looks pretty good to me. Second. Miller. Before I got my new curtains. And it says, I blew out all 64 Candles, and my wish has already come true. Which was Elna Miller, 1976, November the 14th. Margaret must have been in Colorado. Deer Creek, Colorado. This says Deer Trail, Colorado. It says Deer Creek on the slide. And then it says, but Canadian was the first rodeo. In 78, but she's wrote 79 on there. Anyway, it's on Che in the red and Sam in this sweater. First picture with my new camera. It's too light. Of course, that's Granny Anderson. Yeah, it's pretty light. That's up at Helen's house in Winoka. In Oklahoma City, moving car. Let's see what it looks like darker. It's kind of pretty. On our way back home from Marble Falls, that famous ranch. Thanks. So I guess Mom and Kathy went to Marble Falls that year. Aloe in the front yard. A little bit older. A lot of people around the background. It says a truck ran off the bridge by Gene Purcell's old place across the tracks. I guess that's that little bridge that we used to cross to pick Rosie's kids up for school every day. Mary Helen driving the pickup. It kind of looks like Evelyn, but I don't know. On the other side, Helen Doopy grading papers in 1976. Developed. I think that's Evelyn's. So we must be having some kind of a shower or something. I guess that's right after Sam was born. Paulette and Margaret. Aunt Helen and Uncle Fred's in Winoka. Fred Doopy's. Peacocks. Oh, the gift arena, December 1976. Nativity scene. It looks small there, but it's not. And there's Bessie Matthews and Evelyn. Cara Dickinson at Evelyn's house, 1976. Picture. So is this the one that he painted? I assume so. Taken in July of 1972. That's kind of fun. 32nd anniversary, 1962. Othello and Elna Miller in Canadian, Texas. And he's got a cake because their anniversary is his birthday too. So that's 1962, so that'd be August the 20th, 1962. Looks like she's holding a pair of new shoes or something. It's a birthday picture. With Elna Miller. 66. See all three Renaults, a blue one in the very front, then the red one and another blue one. (1971), Sam and Anche out the cemetery. She put "at my daddy's grave." That's Willie Anderson's. Granny was still alive at the time. It's kind of a pink stone. I'm not sure about that tree, if it's still there or not. 4 in the gift arena. Looks like Stephen and Mom, Mrs. Elna Miller. Elna Miller. I think the showcase that you can just see half of over here on the right is mine. In 1974. It's out in front of the shop. Stephen, Eddie, Stanley in front, and Regina. Yep, that's Stanley. 1974. Well, that's Sam in the pink shirt. So I guess I'd have to be Anche in the pink shorts, but it sure don't look like her. I wonder if it could be one of Billy's nieces. '75. And there's Sam and Anche. Anche's by the tree. For Father Culligan. '63. Must be Billy, Mike, and Stephen. Evan. Othello sitting. Looks like I'm getting some water out of the can. There's Stanley and Carrie's cooking. That's Colette in the bathing suit. '53. I don't know what I did with my list here. So, Twyla, Stanley, and Sherry Gill were all born in '63. This was developed in June. It must be Stanley. It's a beautiful blanket. They should remember that. And so that's got to be Stanley. It's like, oh wow, another baby. Don't she look excited? It seemed like a almost everyday thing around here at that time. It's getting that way again in Amarillo. There's Sam down on bottom and Stanley up in the tree. Okay. These were developed in October of '72. There's the 3 cars. So there's definitely 2 blue and 1 red. And I think the red one was Mary Helen's. The blue was Othello's and the other blue was Nadine's. Evan, there's some new faces. Philip standing up. Must be holding Dusty, then Lita and Alicia, Rosie, Colette holding Lori, Amber, and Margaret. And this picture's not very good. 72. It has Wilbur Smith's address on it and Grandma's writing, so she may have took this film with her and had it developed in New Hampshire and had a copy made or something. Matching dresses. Sam and Anche. Margaret and Mom, then Colette, Nadine, Mary Helen, and Rose. All of our blonde faces to light. D2, so that looks like Easter. Stanley and Lita, I think. The dog we gave Mr. Mosser. This was taken in Florida in 1966. Grandma said she had a lot of puppies to give away over the years, but none ever had it so good as this one. He had his own bedroom, bed, had his own, well, we got a picture of him in a cap and gown where he went to dog college, and he's buried in a pet cemetery. He was just an old mutt, Mom said. 72. There's our family portrait. I don't see me in there, but I see everybody else. Day 1981. It must be at the park. It's birthday. Good thing 1981 wasn't developed till January of 82. She's getting